ADHD has an impact on more than just attention. It can also have a huge impact on emotions. That, coupled with generally lower self-esteem for us ADHDers, can amplify feelings of jealousy and insecurity in relationships. What can we do about this? Well, I'm going to break down a few things that we can start today to start taking control of jealousy. But first, let's break down why it happens. First up, I want to be clear. Jealousy is a completely normal feeling that everyone has. The challenge for us ADHDers is that we can have additional challenges on top. We can become sensitive to rejection, and we can have generally lower self-esteem. And this can come from a lifetime of being told that you're not good enough or failing to live up to neurotypical standards. But the bonus is that we also have the additional challenge of emotional dysregulation, which is struggling to manage our emotions. So as you can probably figure out from all of this, this can sometimes take that feeling of jealousy and amplify it. Let's say, for example, you're in a relationship, and let's say your partner is staying late at the office and you have a momentary feeling of, oh, I feel a little bit insecure right now. Is she with that new guy, John, that she mentioned? What's she doing? Now, there's nothing wrong with that thought at all. But with ADHD, we can have that feeling of insecurity, but because we can hyperfixate and ruminate, we can spend time going over and over and over that feeling of jealousy, making it worse. And that rumination and that repetition of that feeling can lead to a confirmation bias that we are essentially low value and that our partner does prefer spending time with this other person. And this thought spiral can become a regular pattern. Then when it comes to talking to our partner, because we feel like we're low value and we feel like they think that as well, we start to try and get some validation from them. We try and get them to manage our feelings. And then if our partner is like, hey, sorry, I don't like him, I love you, don't worry about it, then because we still have that confirmation bias, then maybe we think that they're lying, so we can look for more evidence that they're lying. And this over time, without any sort of interjection, can exacerbate. It can get worse and worse and worse. And this is because of the way ADHD can impact an ADHDer's brain, because it impacts our emotional regulation. And overall, this can cause us to react more strongly or more impulsively to situations that do trigger jealousy. And when we act upon these feelings, it can feel like we're doing the right thing. It can feel like we're acting on our feelings and we're being authentic to ourselves. Because it can feel like our partner is holding something from us. They're hiding their true feelings for this other person or their true feelings on us. But really what's happening is we're just sitting in our own feelings. We're not allowing the logical side of our brain to balance it out. And the reason why sitting in these feelings can happen is because the parts of the brain that are responsible for emotions operate independently from the areas that are involved in reasoning and logical thinking. That area of the brain is called the frontal lobe, which is what ADHD impacts. So does this mean ADHD biologically wires our brain for jealousy? Well, no. It just means that whatever feelings that we have can just be amplified. So if we do feel jealous, then it's jealousy that can be amplified. If we feel sad, then sadness can be amplified. However, leaving these feelings of jealousy unchecked, this can poison and destroy trust in relationships. And trust is crucial for the well-being and success of any relationship. Maya Angelou once said, jealousy in romance is like salt in food. A little can enhance the savor, but too much can spoil the pleasure. And I think that that's a good point to make. There's nothing wrong specifically with jealousy. It's when it becomes overpowering. When we don't keep jealousy in check, it can lead to suspicion, doubt, and lack of trust, and it can just escalate overall. So if they're perfectly normal feelings, how do we deal with feelings of jealousy? Well, firstly, step back and pay attention to what you're telling yourself. Take a moment to reflect on your internal dialogue. This is really, really crucial to be able to check the narratives that we construct in our minds about our partner's actions or their intentions or our internal feelings. It's important to differentiate the difference between logical conclusions and emotional assumptions. So when you are feeling these feelings, making sure that you are taking the time to check them, whether this is based on facts or whether this is based on your own feelings and interpretations of a situation. Next, make sure that you focus on regulating your emotions. You know, for a long time, researchers have largely ignored the emotional side of ADHD because it's difficult to really be measured. The emotional aspects are just as significant, but often less understood. So it's important for us to start taking the responsibility for managing our own emotions and putting systems in place in order to make sure that we're staying on top of them. Next, if you are in a relationship and you do feel jealous, it's important to lead with trust, because leading with trust actually generates trust in a relationship. Trust begets trust. So starting with a foundation of trust in your partner can help to mitigate those feelings of jealousy, because when you lead with trust, it generates trust within your partner. It gives them the safety to be able to tell you anything that they do or don't feel. So if you're leading with trust and are simply just being vulnerable about your feelings of insecurity, What that does is that it tells your partner that you acknowledge that this is just your feelings of insecurity, but that you trust her as a person. And this helps to generate trust in your partner because you're being honest with them, whilst also being honest with yourself about your own feelings. So as an ADHDer, if you do struggle more with insecurity or doubt due to whatever past experiences or misunderstandings or rejection, choosing to trust is actually very, very empowering because you acknowledge the difficult past that you've had, but you're still choosing to trust despite your insecurity. And this doesn't mean ignoring genuine concerns, but rather just giving your partner the benefit of the doubt and communicating about your feelings openly. Next is acknowledge that you can be sensitive to criticism. You know, a lot of people with ADHD can experience rejection-sensitive dysphoria, which I actually have a deep dive video on, which I'll link to above and in the description down below. In a nutshell, rejection-sensitive dysphoria is where you perceive rejection or criticism, and that leads to intense emotional pain. Now, with work, this can actually be dealt with, and it is important to start working on this because this sensitivity can exacerbate, it can make worse these feelings of jealousy, because even small actions taken by your partner can be interpreted as rejection from yourself. Next is turn your focus inward. Focus on your own growth. A really powerful way of dealing with jealousy is shifting the focus away from comparing yourself to other people and onto your own personal growth. It becomes a lot easier to be able to generate that self-esteem within yourself because you're focused on your own growth, your own progress, rather than the constant comparison to other people. You know, I hope you can see from this channel that, you know, everything that I talk about in this channel is focused on self-growth. Being able to recognize your weaknesses and work on those areas for improvement helps to give us a path forward, and it boosts self-esteem, it boosts confidence, and it gives us the positive reinforcement in our own process, which in turn reduces jealousy in other people because you're too busy doing what you do rather than thinking about other people and what they're doing. And a lot of the members that I work with have struggled with jealousy. For those of us who are ADHDers, learning to regulate and manage your emotions is a huge part of managing ADHD as a whole. And this is part of the process that we work on with my ultra normal members, which if you do want to find out more about this, then join me on my bootcamp, which I'll link to up above and in the description down below. Joining the bootcamp will also give you the opportunity to come and work with me as a member as well. So all you have to do is click on the link to get started. And remember that it's about the process, not perfection. Perfection is an unattainable and often quite destructive goal, especially when it comes to relationships. So emphasizing your process of growth over becoming this perfect person can help to alleviate that pressure that feeds jealousy. And for us ADHDers, shifting our perspective on this is really, really vital because what we need to do is encourage a focus on consistent effort and improvement rather than some impossible standards that we can never meet. If you're jealous in a relationship, if there's a problem, talk about it. Make sure that you're being open and honest in your relationship communication. Being able to articulate your feelings without any sort of accusation or blame allows you to have a constructive dialogue together and come to a mutual understanding. And you know, I get it. Communication can be really challenging for us ADHDers, but that is why it's even more important to make sure that we are working on growing that. And if you do want a deeper dive into communicating clearly with ADHD, then I'll leave you with this video right here. I'll see you over there.